How we doing, everybody? Now, as we know, at the weekend we saw Israel Adesanya once again go out there and defend his middleweight title. Now, I know what you're saying. Some of you people say Robert won. Oh, Bisping had biased commentary. Never mind any of that. We're going to talk some facts, figures, numbers, legacy, and we're going to discuss, is Izzy the GOAT? Is Israel Adesanya the greatest of all time? Now, he's certainly on trend to become one. He's certainly the middleweight champion. He's certainly the number one 185er on the planet. That's without a shadow of a doubt, okay? That's not up for discussion. Oh, but Robert should have won. Hey, listen, we've been through this. I talked about it. Bisping's biased, shitty commentary, whatever. Shut the fuck up.
I don't give a fuck.
Let's delve into this. Listen, Israel Adesanya came to the UFC with a massive reputation of being an incredible kickboxer, and he has delivered. He has shown the kickboxing skills. He has shown the takedown defense. And he's certainly got the charisma, the personality, the star quality, the it factor, whatever you want to call it. Israel Adesanya has it, and he has it in spades. So that begs the question, is he the GOAT? Is he the greatest of all time? Now, the reality is, he's certainly on trend to become that, okay? He is the dominant force at 185, one of the biggest stars in the UFC that we have today. Now, when you talk about the GOAT, at middleweight, by the way, I'm talking about middleweight GOAT. We're not talking about the greatest of all time. You know, that's a complete other discussion. We're keeping it down to, is Izzy the 185-pound GOAT? Okay, now there's been a lot of great fighters throughout the UFC middleweight division. Obviously, Yoel Romero. Who else? Rich Franklin, back in the day, he was incredible. I always wanted to fight him. Chris Weidman definitely deserves a shout. My old friend Luke Rockhold, he was an incredible middleweight, even though I can't stand his guts. Vitor Belfort deserves a mention. Who else am I missing? I'm certainly missing some. I know I am, but still, they're the ones that come to the top of my head. But it doesn't matter, because they're not the ones that we're talking about. What we're talking about basically here, it is a two-horse race, okay? And those names are, those horses, I'm calling them horses, those names are Israel Adesanya and Anderson Silva. The Spider, the one and only, the greatest middleweight of all time. And yeah, there you go. I'm just going to throw it out there. Anderson Silva is the greatest middleweight of all time. Now, that's not a knock on Israel Adesanya, because remember, I've got biased commentary. I've got my thumb right up his ass. That's not the case at all. I just call it like I see it. Anyway, this video is not about that. Stop it, Bisping. I can't help myself. Let's break it down. Let's look at it. Listen, Israel came to the UFC and he wanted to achieve great things right from day one, okay? He was always comparing himself to others, wanting to beat records, wanting to get to the title quicker, you know, wanted to have the most defenses and go down in the record box as an absolute legend. And he will do that because he is a legend and he is the man. He's on top of the sport right now. But Anderson Silva, he's just done more. It's as simple as that. Now, when we look at the numbers, Anderson Silva came to the UFC, made his UFC debut after having a career in Pride. And when he came over here, he fought in the UFC for the first time, his debut against Chris the Crippler Lieben. And I was there ringside. I just won the Ultimate Fighter. And I was sitting ringside with my wife. And I remember on like the promo piece on Chris Lieben, before he walked out, he said, yeah, Anderson's been fighting weaker opposition out in Japan. I'm going to show him how those Americans hit, and something along those lines anyway. Not probably getting that a bit wrong. But anyway, as we know, in that fight, Anderson Silva went out there and just wiped the floor with him. Took Chris Lieben out of there in style. And it was shocking. Certainly if you know Chris Lieben, the crippler, the cat smasher, and you know how hard he hits. By the way, shout out to Chris Lieben. He's got a big battle with COVID. Shared something on Twitter the other day. He's strapped to all kinds of machines. Truly wish the best for you, Chris. Get well soon. Speedy recovery. But yeah, Chris Lieben, he could take a punch like no motherfucker else, right? And Anderson Silva took him out in spectacular fashion. And he put the entire middleweight or the UFC on notice. Everyone was like, wow, that was sensational. Next time up, he went up against Rich Ace Franklin, the champ. Made short work. Absolutely demolished him. Then they did a rematch and poor old Rich Ace Franklin got his nose smashed all over his face. And from there, it was just an incredible reign of dominance. He went on a 16-fight win streak. 16 fights unbeaten. 14 of which were stoppages. 12 knockouts, 2 submissions. That's crazy. There was also 2 fights at light heavyweight there. Okay, he went up against Forrest Griffin, who was 1 fight removed. from being the champion of the world. Okay, and if you remember that fight against Forrest Griffin, I mean, Anderson was truly in the matrix. That was like something, I still don't know if we've seen anything as impressive or as good as that. It was mind-blowing how good it was. And then he also knocked out James Irvin in another light heavyweight bout. As I say, professional career record of 34-11, 16 fight win streak in the UFC, which is the longest, 14 stoppages, 12 KOs, 2 subs, and he defended the belt 11 times. Now, let's be honest, that would be 12 times because he fought Travis Lutter in a title defense, but Travis Lutter, as I should say, didn't make weight. So the title wasn't on the line. But if we're being honest, that was a title defense. Just because Travis Lutter doesn't make weight, I still count that as a defense. So in total, he defended the belt 12 times. All right, real quick, I Trust Capital. Most people have heard of cryptocurrencies, but did you know that you can save for your retirement while also investing in cryptocurrencies? That's right, with I Trust Capital, you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies in a crypto IRA and get all the same tax advantages as a traditional IRA. Okay, with I Trust Capital, you get tax-free trading, no sign-up fee, no monthly fees, institutional cold storage security, and now a free $100 when you sign up and start investing with I Trust Capital today by going to itrust.capital/Bisping or click the link in the episode description down below. itrust.capital/Bisping. Get $100 free today when you sign up. Whilst in the middle of a 16-fight win streak with 14 stoppages, 12 knockouts and 2 submissions. Remember, one of those came up against Chael Sonnen. And this is another reason why Anderson's so great, is because he got dominated in that fight from start to finish. You know, but he pulled it out the bag. And it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And in that fight, a fight that he was getting dominated in, he was getting pounded on, he was getting smashed, he was getting embarrassed. But it ain't over till it's over. And he pulled out that submission, slapped on a triangle against Chael Sonnen. He had one other submission that was against my old friend Dan Henderson. And listen, when you go through the record that he has, or what he did, why am I on Melvin Gillard's record? That's bizarre. When you go through it, I mean, my word, it came to these are the names that Anderson Silva beat in the UFC. Chris Lieben, Rich Franklin, Travis Lutter, Nate Marquardt, Rich Franklin, Dan Henderson, James Irvin, Patrick Cote, Talis Laitis, Forrest Griffin, Damian Maia, Chael Sonnen, Vitor Belfort, Yushin Okama, Chael Sonnen, Stephan Bonner, and then he lost the belt because he was fucking about to Chris Weidman and got knocked out. Then they had a rematch and he snapped his leg. Then he came back and beat Nick Diaz. And then he came back and fought Michael Bisping and got beat fair and square. Anyway, enough about that. We're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about whether Israel's resume is better than that. And the short answer is it's not. It's just not. Now, that doesn't mean it can't be. Of course it can be. Israel is still a young man. He's got a lot of time on his side and he's still a phenomenal fighter. But when you compare the two records right now, they just don't stack up. And I'm not trying to be a hater, I'm just pointing out the facts. His career record is 22-1, very nice. 15 KOs overall, only 4 KOs in the UFC though. And only 4 title defenses. Now we know Izzy likes to say that he has 5 title defenses because he won the interim belt against Anderson Silva and then he unified the belts against Robert Whittaker. When you're the interim champion, you're only the number 1 contender. We know this. Listen, if I was Israel, maybe I'd feel the same way. I'm not trying to shit on him. I'm not trying to take away from his achievements. Far from it. The man's incredible. But beating Robert Whittaker to become the champ wasn't a title defense, okay? And since then, he's had 4 defenses. He went up and fought Jan Blachowicz at light heavyweight, and he didn't get the job done. No shame. No shame on that whatsoever. But when you look at the two of them, and you look at the average fight time, I mean, Anderson's is way shorter, pardon me. And Anderson Silva was more of a varied threat. Of course, he had great submissions. Only had 2 in the UFC, but still 2 is good. And he was so dynamic. And the knockouts were just phenomenal. Now listen, Izzy could beat him one day. Izzy could. Izzy's showing brilliance. Izzy shows a maturity and a sophistication with his striking that realistically no one else in the UFC right now can compare to. Okay? Other than Anderson Silva, but he's not around anymore, you know. And listen, I know what a lot of people might say, but hold on a minute. Israel and Anderson Silva, they already fought and Izzy beat him. Well, he did beat him, and it was a close fight, but Izzy won. But Anderson was 43 years old. And I think Izzy's still only 30. I might be wrong there, but he might have been only been 28. I don't know. He's very much in his prime, though. I didn't look up his age, so sorry about that. But they fought. Anderson was 43 years old, you know. And, you know, it was a competitive fight, but Israel beat him fair and square. But still, he wasn't in his prime. And you got to remember that, you know. So, listen, this video isn't whether Izzy is good or bad. Izzy's fantastic. Izzy's great. Izzy's the middleweight champion of the world. But is Izzy the GOAT of the middleweight division? The answer to that is no. He's not. But the reality is, he might be one day. He might be one day, but he's still got a long way to go. As I say, this isn't a piece to sit here and talk bad about Israel Adesanya. It's not for me to sit here and kiss Anderson Silva's ass, but it's just a question that I'm seeing a lot float around a lot, pardon me, on social media. A lot of people are talking about it. And Israel's definitely on trend. Definitely on trend. And he could outbeat all of those stats. He could defend the belt way more times than Anderson Silva did, because right now I'm not sure if there's anyone that can beat him. We know that Jared Cannonier is the next in line. Jared Cannonier is going to give him a very different challenge to what Robert Whittaker did. I don't think he's going to try and wrestle him. He's going to stand toe-to-toe. He's going to try and beat him at his own game, and I'm very, very interested. Reality is, Jared will come in as an underdog, and rightly so, because Izzy's the fucking man right now. So Izzy, if you see this isn't me trying to talk shit, but I see a lot of people talking about whether Anderson or Izzy is the GOAT, and just by numbers, just by stats, just by defenses, just by knockouts and submissions, and overall tenure in the UFC, it is without a doubt, right now, Israel Adesanya is not the middleweight GOAT. That title belongs to the one and only Anderson the Spider Silva, but I fucking love both of them. So anyway, do me a favour, subscribe, ring the bell, more content coming your way this week.